Ayomide here, and guess what? We're back for more incredible journeys into the lives of everyday heroes on the World Without People podcast. Dive into more vibrant stories, shared experiences, and mind blowing perspectives with me in season 2. New faces, new stories, but the same old vibe. So, whether you're a seasoned listener or just stumbling upon this oasis of humanity, welcome. Grab your favorite beverage and join the adventure. Let's celebrate the beauty of the world, one remarkable story at a time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The World Without People. My name is Ayomide, and I'm excited to be here. I'm always excited to be here. But today is also special because I'm bringing back my lovely friend, Bukky Orenuga, who gets to put me on the hot seat today. Hi, Bukky.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me again. I
Yes.
feel really special that I've been called a second time. It
Well,
means that the feedback was good.
it's well, this is a little different since I'm not interviewing you yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll come back again for the second episode for your own
Okay.
version of married after single, whatever we want to call it. I will definitely be doing that very soon.
Okay.
All right, so you get to ask me any question. I'm on the hot seat, so go ahead.
I guess that for when you say get to ask you any question, the first thing I would always start with is tell us about your family.
Mm.
I mean, your family is who you are essentially. So, do you want to tell us about your family?
I feel like everybody knows this by now. I feel like if you listen to this podcast, you know this by now. But I am the first of seven. And I feel like that's all there is to say about
Mm,
that. Because that whole, sentiment of matriarch of the family, my dad quite literally will sometimes say, oh, she's been my mom and she's been my wife. And I'm like, no, don't say things like that, please.
oh
But
wow.
I'm the first of seven, and I think that for me, the way I think of it, I don't think I could have been anyone else. Like I don't think I could have been a second child. I definitely think that I
Hmm.
even if I came back in another world, I don't want to be the last child. That one I am almost 100% certain of. And so even when I
Okay.
tease and say, oh, in another life, I don't want to be the first child, I think I maybe don't want to be the first child female as opposed to the first child male. But I think that everything about me, not everything, I mean, everything about me is God, really, but like it really does shape you. That whole birth around thing is actually kind of crazy how much it shapes you. And I like it. I feel like, the resilience that I feel like I have or I've had to have and things like that. I feel like it's giving me a different way to survive in this world, and we all need ways to survive in this world,
To survive,
honestly.
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah.
It's funny because I am now on the other side whereby it's just me, and I've always envied you because sometimes when I think about it, okay, so for example, if you have to do anything for your parents or for your
Mm,
family,
mm,
you can divide it 7 ways.
yeah.
But imagine me and me carrying the whole problem, the glow. So people look at being an only child from the angle of, oh, you've been spoiled, or you've
Right.
enjoyed, but they don't also look at the fact that you are also alone
Yeah.
with all the. So yes, but then I know I want to have siblings. I know
Right.
I do want to have siblings. I always pray to have siblings, and I think that's one of the reasons why I tend to be friends with people that have siblings.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I have only one other friend who is an only child also, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is not about me.
That's fine.
So I know that, you recently were engaged or are engaged. And yes, we're in the planning mode and all that. And I was saying to someone recently that it really hit me. Not hit me. I mean, I'm happy and stuff, but it just made me realize, oh, last single girl standing.
Mm,
It's like when you board a plane and someone goes first class,
yeah.
then you go to economy. That's how that's how it feels now. You're in first class and I'm the rest of us are in economy. Oh, we're in first class and you're in economy, whichever way
Right?
you want to do it.
Right? Because let's be honest.
Yes, but you get what I mean. There's
Yeah.
actually, yes, there's
Yeah.
that demarcation, and we're all happy. It's how we've grown up in Nigeria is, my mom will say to me sometimes when I don't know, I think parents don't understand. I was saying to my mom recently that, oh, that I know a couple of people that don't want to get married. And I was like, it's a lie. Every girl wants to get married.
Not really.
What do you think about this, or how do you feel about this?
Not really. And I mean, honestly, I didn't for the longest time. I was very adamant that I wasn't. And I always tell people that, be very, very careful with what you say. I literally, quite literally said I didn't want to date until I was done with school. I think I've said this story before. I didn't realize school was going to take me 10 years. I did not, pretty much did not date until I started thinking about it a little bit towards the end of school there. And then had maybe one sort of good relationship before this happened. And so, really and truly, even at the time it happened, honestly, really and truly, I think I was sensitive to it because I think at that point God had been trying to,
Yes.
talk to me. But in general, I still think that if it hadn't happened, honestly, really and truly, if it hadn't happened, I think I was going to be okay. I was confident in the fact that God had a plan for my life, and it did not necessarily, it was not the end all be all if I got married or if I didn't get married. And again, maybe just my personality, I don't think I was, you know, I wasn't crying. I wasn't lonely. I wasn't. Did I sometimes want it? Absolutely. Did I sometimes get in that moment where Nathaniel Bassi would tell you to where your, how you want to be? And I remember
What's
thinking to
that
myself,
about? Sorry, I don't follow
so
that.
during the Hallelujah challenge, he does this thing where he's
Okay.
like, dress like your miracle, right? So if you're
Hmm.
wanting a child, for example, you would dress like you had a
Okay,
bump
put a
and
stomach
everything.
in and all
I
that.
used to
Yes.
think, okay, fine. I mean, let's just obey, let's be obedient to God. But marriage is not the end all. I had like a key to my house, a key to my car. like, like that's how my
Yeah.
thing was thinking. Like, it was like, yeah, fine, there's a ring. But the biggest and everything else was like, all the other dreams that I want. I was in my short skirts with my high heels, like dominating, and like if I was going to ever dream that kind of dream. So, and I think it took me a while to get there, and it took a lot of obedience for me to get there, to be fair. So again, it's not for everybody, for many different reasons. I mean, think about ladies that have been raped, for example. Think about ladies that have been so disappointed with their partners or with a partner in the
Hmm.
past. Think about ladies that, because of their dad in their life, and having, serious daddy issues, mental issues, financial issues, all of that stuff that can come into making that decision. And some people simply, personality wise, are not good with partners. My mom, my mom still teases me, and everybody pretty much still teases me. If somebody is snoring, I cannot sleep. I actually cannot.
Really?
I cannot sleep. So if I stay on the bed with you and you're snoring, just know I did not sleep that night. It's just fact.
Hmm.
So what does
Please,
that look like
I have a
practically?
question.
Wait, now hold on.
The
What does
few
that
times,
look like practically into marriage? That's a
no,
whole
about me. The few times I stayed over at yours,
not sleep.
because
Did
I
not
would
sleep.
like to know
I'm telling
if
you, I did not sleep.
oh, so I snore. Huh? That's a realization.
So
Really? So you didn't sleep? Why didn't you tell me the next day?
because I don't think it's anybody's problem but mine. I'm just gonna have to deal with it, right? But
And
I
I
think,
always used to make out that I didn't snore. Oh,
you
was
know,
it
and I
loud?
don't get me wrong. I think everybody snores in their own way, but a
Mm-hmm.
little bit here and there, whatever. It's just if it's a little consistent. Once, again, some people, depending on how it goes, like once it stops, I can get a little bit of sleep, that kind of thing. So I'm one of those people who
Okay.
I don't like to share
Oh
hotel.
wow, I can sleep on Third Mainland Bridge. Oh.
Like
Once I'm ready.
I can't
Do you know
literally,
how bad it is? Do you
yeah,
know how bad it is?
yeah.
Sometimes I'll wake up and maybe I'm talking to my mom in the morning and she's like, "Oh, it was raining," and I'm like, "Really? Did it rain?"
Yeah, no, I'll hear that. I'll hear that. I can go back to
Really?
bed, but I'll hear that. Yeah, yeah. No, in fact, usually rain will make me wake up just out of nature. Anyways, I do want to go back to what you did say though about
I always digress.
first
Sorry.
first class and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, if you're enjoying the podcast, please don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, or share button. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube, your support helps us to reach more people. Stay tuned for more amazing conversations, and thank you for being a part of our community. In my the 30th years, I won't say I'm in my, I was going to say in my 30s, I'm still 30 something. Uh,
Your early 30s.
in my no, actually, it was my 30th year. I remember
Mm-hmm.
going to 7 weddings back to back to back to back to back. I think one or two of them I was bridesmaid. And it was one of those things where, I remember, I mean, I'm in a church community where you're telling people you've not found anybody, nobody, nobody. And everybody's like, what's happening to all these people around you? Like, what is happening? Like, are you blind?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can imagine that those same people now, if 30, I'm going to be 38, we're talking about people that have 7 year olds already. We're talking about people that have, quite literally, your first kids are going to whatever that elementary and you know, everybody, and I think that's the idea of the plane that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody cannot be in the same class. It's not meant to be, right? And I think that a plane, plane can have a little bit more division. It's just let's think of a bus, because a bus, there's no first class, there's no second class. Either
Yeah.
way, everybody that steps on a bus, their
Mm-hmm.
destination is different. Even
Yeah.
if there's five people going to your same stop, their destination is different. So yes, we all
So the
get.
best way to describe it is,
Mhm.
like the London bus. You
Mhm.
know how everyone gets off
Yeah,
at different stops. Yeah.
exactly, and that's why I'm saying that. Let's assume all of us are going to the same stop, right? Let's just say 10 of us are on that bus, and 10 of us end up. It's the last stop. Let's say it's the last stop of the bus, right? That's where the bus is
Mm-hmm.
going to end. Either ways, from there, most everybody is going to their own destination. They're going
Yeah.
home, they're going to work, they're going to the grocery store, they're going to a
Yeah.
hotel, they're going to their own destination. And I think that's how life is supposed to be. And I think that's how life is. And if we keep that in mind, nobody has gone ahead of you. Everybody's just moving in their own direction, right? I always
Yeah.
talk about, at the end of the day, I know people that have lost their lives at this age when I thought, wow, they've done this and they've done that. And in this same 38, and they're already gone, they're in heaven, right? So what's what are we rushing for, right? At the end of the day, I
Mm.
just really truly believe that even though I've gotten here, all my friends who desire it are going to get here, and it's going to be beautiful. And that's the most important thing too. That at the end of the day, when you get there, it is beautiful, and that's my hope for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you mean, but I know that you also we were going to talk about something we saw on social media.
Yes,
Do you want to let's delve into that a bit,
yes,
because that's really
absolutely.
funny. And the thing about it that we are laughing about these things, oh, but that's how we'll be laughing. And the economy has sort of gone down, and we were just laughing and all that. But
Well, you know what I thought about today? I thought about the fact that that is beyond my control. I saw the news, or actually, somebody sent me the news that the stock market had crashed. In all reality, the stock market crashing was just fear. It really did not do much in in investment, at least with what I saw.
Mhm.
At least maybe I just happened to have been lucky with my own investment. So life is just interesting like that. Either ways, I think the most important thing is not to also dwell with the fear mongering. It's almost like my dad would always say when he says something, he says when they ask how did somebody die, he'll say it's death, right? Either ways, we're all going to end up truly at the end of the day though in the same destination, which is death. So I think that's the most important thing. Worrying about what the economy looks like every day, I don't think you should take the things that make us laugh and give us joy. I definitely don't think that that's how we take these issues. They're serious, you pray about it, but you got to live your life. At least that's my own personal theory.
Are we talking about Nigeria now?
Well, Nigeria too.
No,
But in
because we're not
general
praying
the
about
world.
Nigeria again. We're done praying about Nigeria.
Hmm.
So that's that.
Well, I know I was even more. Okay, let me say it this way. What I believe about praying for Nigeria is more that the Bible tells us to pray for our nations, right? It's really, see, one of the things I truly 100% believe is that we are going to reap the fruit of all these prayers that we've been praying. Like, I know we're not seeing it now, but it's, think about so many times in the Bible where the dream came, or the answer to the prayer came so much later, right? Hannah prayed for so long and then much later had her baby, right? And so that's how I think the prayers for Nigeria are going to be fruitful for us. And I don't think we should stop praying, actually. That's my theory. But, I understand why people are frustrated with the idea
Okay,
of praying.
Sister Yomide.
What did you say?
Okay. I said, okay, Sister Yomide.
What if,
We
why
won't
why
stop
the
praying.
sister? Like, really? Why the sister? Wow. Okay. All right. Let me go into this. It's a very funny story, but here we go. Okay, so it's point of view telling my traditional Christian Nigerian mom that I have a boyfriend. And so she goes, I'm going to be home around 7 p.m. I was wondering if I can bring my boyfriend so I can introduce you to him. And so the mom immediately calls and she's like, Boy, what? You don't even have a friend, let alone boyfriend. And then she goes, It's just someone I've been speaking to for a few months and he'll like to meet you. You'll like him. You don't know what I what I like. I need more information. This is the mom. And so she
Mm-hmm.
replies, He's Yoruba, his name is Kayode, and he's 26, also a Christian. He just finished medical school and he owns a tech company. I'll show you what he looks like in 1 second. And so she sends a picture. Now she sends a picture of a random, yeah, I forget his name. But anyways, he's a
Like a
movie star,
celebrity.
a celebrity. Keith Powers or whatever. So obviously we already know that this story is kind of like already, I don't want to say fake, but like she obviously was just trying to rile her mom up. But anyways, this is the mom's reply. Jesus Christ, and I'm saying this in the Nigerian voice. Jesus Christ, see fine boy, no pimple. Even though I don't like the earring, what God cannot do does not exist. A Nigerian medical doctor who fears God is toasting my daughter. Oh, and then the dancing emoji follows. So she goes, Now listen, we have to operate with sense. I know your own is limited, so we'll use my own. You have to come home early so you can cook for your husband before he arrives here. Mama, he's my boyfriend, not husband. He's your husband in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. The bride price will be extraordinary.
Hmm.
And then she goes, He's so yellow, he's resembling Oyinbo. I thought you said you like dark men. How did you meet him? He stopped me on the sidewalk and asked for my number. How can he not stop you? When this young yash can block the whole traffic. He probably wanted to pass, but there was no space. I think we need to
Now,
pause
wow.
for laughter there. And then he goes, This Kayode boy has just helped me decrease all my enemies to dust. That's what she said, decrease all my enemies to dust. And
Hmm.
Chika, let me warn you, don't drive this boy away with your behavior. See, oh no, see how God has blessed you now. Don't let the enemy block your destiny. Always maintain yourself. And please stop wearing this your tomboy clothes that make you look like a construction worker. You are my daughter, not my son. Thank you. Obviously, you can imagine all the comments. Now, as you laughed, as I've laughed, a lot of people laughed.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw a
Mm-hmm.
comment that made me think, okay, let's think about this from another perspective. And this is what the person said. The person said, I want to laugh at this because it is funny and I love my Nigerians, but I would never ever say some of these things to my daughter. I want her to feel worthy of love, not lucky that someone looked her way. I would want her to feel confident and beautiful, whether she's wearing tomboy clothes or whatever. And so I thought, and I've been really curious to hear people's opinions. People didn't want to thingy with me on this one. People usually engage with me on this one, but I think they had to read too much into people were not interested. And so I definitely wanted to talk about it because I've been lucky. My mom, even now, she's like, "Oh, you don't need makeup. You're very beautiful. You're very beautiful." My mom is kind of always. I mean, she said her own things here and there. Every Nigerian mother does. Don't like she will always deny it, but she's
Oh, you're
also
not
said
serious. So,
exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. But nothing ever where I felt like I was not pretty. In fact, if anything, I think any sense of I don't feel pretty enough is just in my head. It's just me comparing myself to others because nobody has ever made me feel that way. Not my dad, not my mom. Again, not because they haven't said things, but they've never, or better still, they didn't say it when I was a child, because I do think that there's a difference with saying some of these things when a person is a child, when the person is in their formative years, such that they hold on to that for as long. I mean, one of my sisters, her nickname is Bold and Beautiful. We've been calling her that since she was a child. It's literally how her name is saved on my phone, right? So I think for me, I didn't grow up in that environment where, as a child, I was told that I was never pretty or that, or any of that. But I do know a lot of females who have gone through that, right? And who are still dealing with that as adults because their parents
Yeah.
told them that they were ugly and things like that, or, fat,
Hmm.
or whatever it was. So I guess the question, or the way I'm thinking about it, is that as an adult, I understand. I think it's funny. I think, that's how they show love in how they rib each other. But I think we have to be careful, and and I think that's what this made me think about. That we have to be careful that we don't say it to a girl, right? And what does that look like, right? When does a parent see that transformation of you being a young girl to an adult where they feel like they can have what they probably think is a frank conversation with you. Like, I feel like that's how my mom has done that with me, where it's like, hey, what's going on? You started to put on weight. Like, it's one thing if that's your natural body, let's figure that out. But if it's not your natural body and it's because of you're eating too much sugar, let's work on that, right? Obviously, a lot of Nigerian parents, I feel, were not taught how to say things with, with honey and bee kind of situation, or how they say that thing, right? So they kind of
Yes.
all say it a little bit.
Sugarcoated. Yes.
Exactly. So they
Yes.
say a little bit
Direct.
more direct and things like that. However, there's a point where I'm an adult and can understand that my mom, yes, she's my mom, and maybe you don't want to hear from the people that are closest to you, but she's your mom and she's trying to make sure that you're healthy. There's a difference. But again, at 21, she may think I'm an adult, but I don't necessarily feel adulty, right? Right. So, because it's still coming from my mom. So when is I think that was what it made me think of. I always say I don't want girls. And this is why I feel like there's so much pressure to build a girl child, and the self-esteem that comes with that, and the confidence. And it's a lot of work,
Not
honestly.
necessarily. There's also pressure to build a boy child.
Mm.
So I think that's why you think that. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, no, go
I
ahead.
think that why you think that there's pressure to raise a girl child is because there's always been pressure, and like we talked about it before,
Yeah.
we need to also focus on our male children.
Right.
So because I've heard you, and what I hear is you're saying, um, always talking to your child, your female child, saying she's pretty, she's this, she's that. I know what came to my mind was, so male children don't get, and for me, I'm sorry, I can't compare because I don't have a brother to compare.
Right.
So you're saying that, for example, your brother would never have been spoken to about maybe a beard or a t-shirt he was wearing.
Oh no,
Do you
not in
understand?
my household. But again, and this is why I'm saying that the difference, again, it might just be in our mindset. I just think that in general, I'm not telling my son all the time, you are so handsome, you're so handsome, you're so handsome. It's just not a natural thing that comes out of our mouth, right? So then we more focus on their good job. And I'm not saying it's right. And I'm not even saying that I wouldn't do the same thing for my girl, because again, I was raised to be, I'm the first child. So I was raised a little bit more to be strong, let's just say, and hardworking and all of that. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah, the
I
leader
will,
and the head.
exactly. So I would naturally probably do that to all my children. But what I mean is that we also will naturally say, "Oh my gosh, you're so pretty. Oh my gosh, you're so cute." And you have to, because you don't want, okay, for example, even if you don't say anything, you don't want them to get to school and somebody says, "Why did you do your hair like that?" You don't want them to get to school and be, bullied a little bit because of how they dressed, and because, so you automatically are what's it called, with presenting the girl child in a different way, right? So I had a friend tell me that, they personally felt a kind of way if their daughter's hair was not done properly. I'm just like, she's a child. Like, who who cares? Like, nobody's going to ever think, oh, you're a bad mom because your daughter's hair is
Hair's
not covered.
untidy.
But some people actually really think that. Some people actually believe that because, again, presenting a girl child is different. But boys now have dreads and now have all the afro hair, and I don't see anybody really feeling like they cannot present their boy child as he is. Does that make sense?
No, I think I get what you mean, but so for example, if I saw my auntie's son and his hair was not combed properly and he had a bit of, you know what they call cocoa.
Yeah.
So that cocoa in the boy child's hair
Hmm.
is what you say is untidy in a girl's hair.
Hmm.
I would think it. Do you understand? But
Okay.
I think that we also need to. Where are we going to have that conversation of, oh, you're so kind. Oh, you're so courteous. Oh, I like the way. Why do we always focus on the physical?
Mm.
Why is it always about this child is pretty, this child is not pretty?
Mm.
Nobody will say a child is not pretty, but why
Right.
do we always focus on outward appearances?
Mm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about my own upbringing. I don't think my mom ever said to me, "Oh, you're pretty,"
Mm.
and you know that I have confidence. I don't think I'm like, but there were other things to think about
Mm.
as against being pretty. I'm just thinking about it. So I think that we need to stop putting so much pressure. And you laugh about this thing, about this conversation of this young lady with her mom.
Right.
But my own thing with mothers is, must they always have an opinion about everything? Can't you just tell your mom, oh, I'm bringing someone home? Say, oh, okay, welcome. Because imagine if that girl was having that conversation with her dad.
Mm.
You would just be like, oh, okay, look forward to seeing you. Most mothers, and I don't know how it works for other people, but I'm just realizing that mothers always have an opinion about everything. And
Yeah.
for me, I think that when I become a mother, one of the things I said I was going to do is I would just keep quiet. I don't always have to comment about every single thing.
Mm.
I think
Well,
that's what we talk about when it comes to Nigerian mothers.
Well, my mom always says when you have your own, you'll understand. And honestly, I hear that a lot. And sometimes I think, because again, to your point, right? What I'm hearing you say is that, because you've seen such the opposite, you're going to go all the way to the opposite. And that might not necessarily be what the child needs as well, right? Because again, I think each child, again, the whole seven siblings, each one of us had a different personality and had
Yes,
different
and you're
ways that
unique.
needed to be. Do you understand? Like needed to be handled. Like me, don't talk to me, don't stress me. Like just leave me alone. I'll figure it out. There were some that you had to be like, I need to be on your neck because, like,
Yes,
I
yes.
think
I
that
think that I was that type of child.
exactly. So I think that every child needs different things. And so again, if you now have a child who needs that, but because of the way you think moms all have opinions, then that's also doing the child a disservice. So I think at the end of the day, I always say moms don't have a manual, right? Nobody gives us a manual. I don't care how you can read books or people talk to you or whatever. Each and every mom is given their own unique child that nobody else can teach you about. That child is who teaches you the mom that you're going to be, right?
Mm.
The only thing that can, I will say, is obviously one, God, but two, patience, right? Patience to understanding the child that you have. There's wisdom. And again, that wisdom, like I will say, is given from God, but you cannot, I don't think you can preface right now the kind of
How
mom that you're
you
going to
be?
be.
Yes,
I
yeah.
don't think you can. I don't think you can.
Mm.
Like, so I think that's just the interesting thing about this thing. And so let me just bring that question back to you. Would you say what the mom said was absolutely wrong?
Not entirely right.
Okay. Is
I
there an
think the only
age
parts
limit
that,
for how she should have?
sorry.
Is there an age limit with that conversation? Like, will you say that to your 30 something year old versus your maybe 19-year old or versus your 20 something year old?
I don't know. I think that maybe because if the child is older,
Mhm.
yes, maybe they can have that conversation because at that point, like her speaking about her bomb, I think that child is old enough, and we just like that. But in fact, you know how sometimes your mother will say something to you about a body part. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
she'll see your bum is something, and your response will be like, ah,
I got to
I
see.
met it in your family now.
I know that's right.
All of
I
you
know
have
that's
big bums.
right.
Your mom might not even have a big bum. It might be
Yeah,
her sister
yeah,
that you are
exactly.
like. You're like, oh, it's your family. So everything I am. So
Yeah,
if because I experience that a lot. So
yeah,
everything I am is like different pieces of different parts of your family is what
yeah,
has made up. I can't. It's just like saying I would be skinny, 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 and
yeah,
nobody in my family is that. You
yeah,
understand? So
exactly.
there's certain things, but yes, I think the only thing that didn't resonate well with me was that whole "don't dress like a boy, dress like a girl," because the guy
Mm,
met her dressed like a boy or
mm,
dressed masculine, and maybe
mm,
that's what the gentleman likes. You never can tell.
right.
You don't know if she starts being all girly, girly, girly. That might even turn the gentleman off.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
I,
fair.
I don't know. There's so much pressure about this married thing. Ah, there's so much pressure in this country. So
Yeah, and
much.
I think it just boils back down to that there is that much pressure. Now, you asked me a question about, some people don't want to marry kind of thing. How do we then have an honest conversation with our parents? Like, you don't want to get married, and how do you have an honest conversation with Nigerian
If it
parents? Like, if, for example, I really did not want to get married, I don't know that I would have ever had an honest conversation with I think I would just have let them continue to pray.
she'll get the message when I don't answer her. For example, if I didn't want to get married,
Yeah.
when they're trying to hook me up with people, I'll be ghost.
Hmm. I feel
You understand? So, oh,
no
a
free dates,
gentleman,
no free dinner dates. No. Yeah.
maybe, but when I get there, knowing the type of person I am, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm just here for the drink and the food. I really have no intention of pursuing this or going any further with this.
Hmm.
Straight up. So
Hmm.
maybe it's not that person that would tell my uncle to tell my mom, and my mom would. Yes, but I probably won't have that conversation with her.
Hmm. Do you think
So
people can change their minds though? I feel like now I'm back to asking you questions.
about getting married, right? Or
Yeah,
settling down.
about wanting it. Like, can people change their minds? Like, yes, you didn't want it for the longest time, and then now you want it.
Yes, I think so. Sometimes some people you meet someone and there are different ways to be a partner. It's Nigeria
Mm.
that focuses more on being married.
Right,
There are different ways. Oprah and
Stedman.
Doctor, yes, they've been
Mm-hmm.
together for the longest and they are more married than some people.
Fair,
And some people have actually signed the dotted line and they're more single than
fair.
me. So yeah, I feel that sometimes you meet someone. Oh, we have an example. That lady that married the rat that didn't want a child, Jeannie Mai.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Did she
I
said
found,
she didn't want a child?
yeah, she knows she was married before. And for the longest, she didn't
Yeah.
want a child. Then she gets with I can't remember the
Yeah, I
rapper's
forget
name.
his name too, but they're divorced now.
I can't
Something.
remember his name
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And then they have that daughter, and I follow
Mm.
her on Instagram, and she's an amazing mom.
Mm.
And the funniest part is that they now have separated or
Yeah.
divorced or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
every time her page pops up, I'm just like, is she so like how when you have a child,
Yeah.
you feel really happy. People always say that you don't understand the depth of love until
Right.
you have a child.
Right.
But sometimes when her page pops up, I'm just like, does she feel sometimes like, oh, this Jeezy, that's the rapper's
Easy.
name.
Yes.
Does she
Yes.
feel like
Yeah.
she didn't want a child and she was always talking about it on the real.
Hmm.
And now she had this child with this man, hoping that it was going to be forever. And the
Hmm.
man was actually the one that filed divorce.
Hmm.
And does she sometimes feel like, oh, she was saddled? I don't know.
Hmm.
I know that as a mother, she would probably never, even if that thought popped up, she would never allow that thought to linger.
Yeah.
But
Because not
sorry?
all. Well, we hope so because not all mothers are meant to be mothers. Honestly,
Exactly.
if we're
That's true.
being
I'm
real.
talking like a Nigerian mother now.
Yeah.
Only Nigerian mothers are that dedicated or
For
African
real.
mothers. But I feel like, yeah, sometimes you meet people. So that young lady, Jennifer, is an example.
Hmm.
Sometimes you meet people and it might just be you go on holiday.
Hmm.
I watch a lot of romantic movies and I read books. So I build castles in the sky and I feel like you will go on holiday, meet someone and will change your perspective about love and settling down. And you find yourself, domesticated that you never thought you would be.
Hmm.
So, essentially, I am of the opinion that everybody should be allowed to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
and live with the consequences, because at the end of the day, it is their life.
Mm.
So if you don't want to be, I know that there's some Nigerian girls that have said that they don't want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So if you really don't want to be, don't let anybody, pressure you into wanting what you don't really want.
Yeah. No,
It's
I
that
agree
simple.
120%. I think I had someone on here who also talked about not wanting to be a parent, and like you're like totally fine with it, and nobody can make her change her mind. And honestly, really and truly, I think for me, the one thing I always think about is that we really think that we have so much, like, and there's a part of me that gets it, like, go for what you want, once you determine what you want, go for it, try for it. But I feel like we really feel like we have so much control of our lives. And honestly, the way I think, maybe it's wrong, I just don't think we have that much control of our lives, right? We quite literally do not have that much control of our lives, to the
Mm,
extent that we can, and that we do, we make the decisions that are in front of us and we can go ahead. But like, to your point, right? Janame saying she never wanted to have a child, that was Janame talking. Clearly, God had another plan. And I say that because I know people who are still waiting for children. And this is somebody that said
yeah.
she didn't want to have a child and then
Yes, and
had a
she.
child. So sometimes you're like, well, there's a God. He understands
I
what he's
know.
doing and he's wanting to give this person a child for whatever reason. I mean, somehow you can think, oh, maybe he already knew that this was not going to work out and he wanted to give her someone to love, someone who was going to take care of her. Who knows? Because sometimes,
Yes.
and
She
like,
has an amazing relationship with her mom, funny enough.
exactly.
I'm
And
not
it's like,
lying.
this thing doesn't make sense because there are people genuinely in love, genuinely married, happily married, all of that,
Waiting.
waiting
Yes.
and waiting and waiting, and they would do anything to be parents, right? So, that's what brings me back to the reality of, we really don't have 100% control of our lives. But I guess to the
I wish
extent
people
that we,
understood this. I
yeah,
know, like the concept of you don't know, you can
yeah,
just only pray for the best.
yeah,
Yeah.
and do your best and leave it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. Any more questions for me?
For now, I think the one thing I personally want to know is what's wedding planning like?
Whew, child. Hmm. I almost want to tell you that you should elope, but I think it just depends on what you want to do at the end of the day. Whatever the case is, make sure that you're doing what you want to do. But for the most part, know that there's a certain part of your wedding that is not your own. Just, you're Nigerian. And I think, sometimes, and maybe we should talk about that a little. Sometimes I think people, this whole thing about, again, independence and like what we are saying about control, I just, there is a place of, parents are your parents and it is what it is. You didn't ask
Mm-hmm.
for it. And you can't
Mm-hmm.
control it and you can't change it, and it is what it
Yes.
is. And you got to do what you got to do. And I think,
Yeah.
if maybe we, gave ourselves that grace, we would live to, what's it called, to fight another day. I'm an organizer, so maybe I care a little bit, but I don't care about the wedding as much as I care about the marriage. So for me, the most important thing is that we have an amazing, amazing, God-filled kingdom marriage. But anything else is just a day. I can always, in another 10 years, decide that I want to go get married all over again with my husband. And,
Yeah. Renew your
at
vows
that point,
and yeah.
exactly.
You can have the wedding that you want us.
Exactly. So, in
Yeah.
fact, guess what? If I'm fortunate enough, I can do it next year. I don't even have to wait
You can
for
do it
10
every year
years.
if you want.
Do you understand? Like, I don't know. I,
Mm-hmm.
I heard there was a couple who used to do that every year. I can do next year. So, really and truly, just get it done. Do what you have to do. To that extent, I almost want to go back and just be like, we could go to court and just do it again when nobody cares. But I also think I wanted a wedding a little bit by the time I decided that I did not want to get
Mm,
married.
yeah.
So at this point,
So
for
what
sure.
I hear is that we come from a country where culture is a big part of everything,
Yes.
and you have to respect that.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. I think that I finally got to that point eventually.
Yeah.
Before I used to fight the whole culture thing,
Yeah.
but we need to accept it and respect it.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah, and I think that if we tolerate it enough, and now don't get me wrong, there's some parts that are absolutely rubbish. Like if you tell me that a 14-year-old is still allowed to marry, that's just rubbish. Um,
No,
in
that's not culture, please. That's
well, to
that's
be
not
fair,
culture.
there was some people would argue that it's certain cultures, but whatever the case is, religion, whatever it is, I'm just saying there's some things that are not. No, you can say we can, as a country or as people or whatever, decide that this is not something that we agree with. But for the most part, is it killing you that they're asking to do a wedding? I don't know. If it's not killing you, then this thing. But if it's really against your person, because again, to the extent that it is against everything, like if you know that you're not going to smile on that day and you know you're not going to enjoy that day, just coco my, just go. Just don't stress about it. In fact, make it easy. Just do a destination wedding so far that they can't get visa. They can and do it in like just literally just be like, we're getting married and we're getting married next month. That's that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Like don't now
Don't give
say, oh,
them
you're
notice.
married next year. Next year, everybody will get visa. What do you mean? People will sell their property to get visa. Don't do
Mm-hmm.
that. Don't. Just literally be like, oh, we're getting married, and that way you can still have what you want in it. I think we just need wisdom. Like I feel like sometimes people just don't realize that there's wisdom to this thing. So
Yeah.
that's
Just
what I would
enjoy the
advise
process,
everybody
really. You get to be a bride only once by the grace of
in
God.
the
So
mighty name of Jesus. So yes,
enjoy it.
enjoy it, have fun, and again, to the extent that you can be at peace with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cocoa.
Yep. Be at peace
All
with
right.
everyone. That's important.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, Bookie. Thank you for allowing me to talk a little bit. I usually don't talk this much on my own podcast, but
It's nice to hear you go.
every time I want to do Ayomide Unfiltered, I'll call you. I feel like this was absolutely easy and it wasn't just questions.
Mm,
Thank you so much.
always welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Just like you would share with friends about a great book you read, don't forget to share this if you enjoyed it. Connect with us on IG and Twitter at TWWPcast and get details on the website at worldwithoutpeople.org. And hey, remember to make loving others the story of your life. Until next time, this is the world without people.